Let's start recording. So, depending on middle school you went to, you guys were graded on different scales. If you went to Abbey Middle, you had the MYP scale, which was like a 8-point scale, I think.
Yeah.
If you went to because I have some grade 9s who are coming from out of district. In Maple Ridge, there are no middle schools, so I don't know what grade scale you're seeing in elementary school, like K to 7 and then K to 7 and then 8 and 9. I don't know what scale you're seeing. It probably looks like this one. If you're coming from a non-MYP school, so any other middle school, you're probably used to seeing at least a portion of this scale. This is the standard scale that we are supposed to use for grade 9s. It looks like this. Why is it right click? Don't do that. At the end of the semester on your report card, you're going to see one of 4 things. These are the 4 you're going to see. You're going to see emerging. That's what EMG stands for. You're going to see developing, which is what DEV stands for. You're going to see proficient. And then you're going to see EX something. Depending on who your teacher is, how they interpret this highest level of the scale, some people say it's extending. I don't believe it's extending because even if you ace my course, you're not extending anything. You've just done everything I've asked you to do perfectly, which is great. You want to extend something? We're going to start pulling something down from grade 10, grade 11. Now you're extending. So how can you possibly, even 100%, how can you be extending the course that I'm doing? So there's that. So I call this exceeding, as in my expectations. I don't expect anyone to land in that 95 to 100 range. And the few that do, because it's statistically improbable that you end up in that 95 to 100 range, only 1 or 2 students do. So who's to say, in my mind, it's impossible for me to say, I can tell you right now who that student's going to be. Because there's only ever going to be a couple of them every block, if that. Some classes, I only have 1 kid ending up in that 95 to 100 range. Some of you are like, it's me. Well, we'll see. So this is why this is why I call that the exceeding, because you have exceeded my expectations. The bulk of you are going to end up in right in there. You're going to end up in the high end of developing, low end of proficient. That is just statistically where it's most likely that a bunch of you guys are going to end up. And if you look at the percentages here, you guys might not be used to seeing things in percentages. 67% used to be the number. That was a C plus on the old grading scale, with the scale that you're going to have for grade 9, 10, or 10, 11, and 12. That was the scale that we, right around like 65, 66, 67, we called that average. If you were hitting that, 65 in a math class, totally average, no shame there. Unless you imposed shame upon yourself, or unless someone imposed shame upon you, or unless you had a teacher the year before who was just handing out A's like they were candy at Halloween. If that's the case, math class was too easy. Or you have teachers who are, like, we're always torn, right? Because especially in middle schools are horrendous for this. They're like, and I'm recording this so y'all can hear me. Middle schools are really bad about, not that I don't want you to feel good about who you are as a human being, but your math grade doesn't reflect your value as a human being. So you can you're a human being with value, and I care about you in that regard, but if you're a 55 math student, let's call it what it is. I don't need to, as Tim Thomas, a goaltender, used to say, I don't need to pump your tires, because if you're a 55 math student, you need to know that you're a 55 math student, so that if you don't want to be a 55 math student, you learn how to work. And middle schools are really bad at saying, oh, this was a great math student because I don't want to have to deal with tears. Because that's what happens. But, you know what? A little bit of tears isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it doesn't need to cut you out. It's not like I'm a horrible human being because I failed this math test. You're not. We've all failed things. I failed the whole course because I failed the final exam. I got self-confidence coming out everywhere. If you fail the final exam at university, you're done for the course. It doesn't matter what you get. I was getting an A walking into a final exam. I walked in, I saw the test, I wrote my name on the top, I spent 20 minutes flipping through it, and I handed it in blank, because I was not prepared. We call that hot shot syndrome, where you think you're good and get wrecked because of your ego. And I walked out into the hallway, and my professor followed me. She still teaches at UFE, by the way. I saw her last year when I took a bunch of kids to the UFE math contest. She still remembers my name. She was a great prof. And that was, I'm 37. That was 15 years ago that I was in her math class, and she was like, Steven! I was like, Robin! It was great. But anyway, I failed her class, and she follows me out into the hall. I was like, I wasn't ready for the final exam. I failed it. Does that reflect on me as a human being? Well, on some of my behaviors, yes, but doesn't devalue me. I deserved what I got because I did not prepare. And sometimes that's the case where you can look at it and say, I did not put in the work required. I screwed around all semester and I tanked it. And there's no teacher on the planet who shouldn't be able to say, you know what? Yeah, you did. And does not reflect on you as a human being, and I'm sure you wanted to do better, but maybe this will be a lesson you learn. This doesn't happen anymore until you hit high school. And by that point, it's almost too late. Because then we have like debilitating anxiety. You don't need to have debilitating anxiety. If you got a little bit of anxiety all along the way, it wouldn't be such an issue. There we go. This is me digressing into a rabbit hole. So I take this all back. These are the scales that we use. We use the emerging, developing, proficient, and exceeding. This is what you'll see on your report card. But along the way, I need more than that to accurately reflect how you're doing in this course. I added some scales. I added IE, which is insufficient evidence, which is 0 to 15%. If you, like I had a student yesterday who was writing this quiz who got a real bad headache or had a real bad headache all morning, was like, I'm going home. So he handed in his test basically not as done as it could have been. You could have done better if you didn't have a headache. And so if you had an insufficient evidence, I can't make a judgment call on insufficient evidence. This insufficient evidence, had there not been a headache present, may have been a proficient. I don't know. This student just hasn't, it's still Quran, just didn't show me. Y'all know who it is, so I'll just call it up. Like, your headache didn't allow you to show me what you really knew. And that sucks, but it's just a quiz, and I'll tell you how we handle quizzes, those of you who are asking about rewrites. There are no rewrites, but we have a way of handling them. So insufficient evidence means I just don't know. So that's a code that I use. It goes into my ed. I can't make a judgment call here. If you have shown me you've made a reasonable effort. There's no headache. You were here the whole time, and you stared at the quiz the whole time, and you weren't able to do much. This EBGL stands for emerging below grade level. You should be able to do more. For whatever reason, you were not able to demonstrate that. And so maybe that means, guys, Gabe and Hayden, maybe there's gaps that we need to fill in. Maybe you need to learn how to prepare for quizzes better because you knew the thing was coming. Maybe you need to try harder in class instead of screwing around with your friends. There's a whole bunch of things that are going on in there that, whatever the reason is, this is what you got, and let's work on it. Then we got emerging, the 45 to 60. If you're working your butt off and this is where you land, hey, there's no shame in that. If you're working real hard and this is where you land, like emerging this 45 to 60, in a perfect world, this is where I would see like my grades start. Because I know not everyone is like, I love math. Not everyone's there. So for some people, math comes harder than others, and even with a ton of work, given the limited amount of time we have, maybe 60% is what you're going to get. That's fine. I have no issue with that. Then we've got our developing, we've got our proficient. This is where the scale changes. I had to add a scale in here. Because if you look here, this used to all be proficient. The 75 to 95 range used to be what I would call proficient. And on your report cards, anyone who lands within this range, I will call proficient. But that doesn't make sense, because if you look at 75 to 95, that means anyone who got between 16 and a half and 21 marks on this quiz, for example, because this quiz is out of 22, would get proficient. But there's different levels of proficiency. Is the person who's getting 76% the same as the person who's getting 94%? No. And so what I did here is I added in H proficient, which stands for highly proficient. And so I'm able to differentiate between my proficient students and my really proficient students. My students who, with just a couple, like maybe you missed a minus sign. Maybe that's does that mean you're not proficient? No, it means you're a little sloppy. But can I say the sloppy people are exceeding my expectations? No. So there's a high band there, that 85 to 95. It calculates as a 90 when I plug it into the computer. And there was actually one girl in the, you guys are C block? In the A block class. Actually, no, a girl in the A block class, I think 2 of you in this class, are the reason that HPRF exists. Because I put your grades in, I'm like, there's no way. And I looked at you had gotten 20.5 out of 22. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't give you 80% for that. So there's a couple of you who are the reason that this band exists. Liam, if you could pull your desk back and line it up with Marcus's, that'd be great. And then extending the 95 to 100. So what I do is I put whatever your quiz is out of, I put up here in this square. And then I go over here and I look at what you got, and I mark it, and I count it up what you got. And then on your quiz, all you get is one of these codes. You don't see what you got out of 22. I'm sure you can count it up yourself. But I give you one of these depending on the kinds of mistakes that you made and the frequency of those mistakes. So you're going to see one of these codes on your quiz when I hand it back. Questions so far? Okay. Some of you are not going to be happy with the grade you see on the quiz. I hope. I hope you're upset by what you see. Some of you are good, this is awesome. I hope, and that's great. But some of you are going to be disappointed, and I know who you are, and I hope you're not disappointed. Sorry, I hope you are disappointed. So, I hope so, because if you're disappointed, that means you're going to buckle down. If you're wrong, I'm happy with my 40, I'm like, no. You are a smidgen of effort away from a 60 if you're hanging out at a 40. Like, just put in a little bit of that effort. Just be ashamed enough to be like, I need to get help. Do that. That's why I'm here, to help you guys learn this stuff. So I'm okay with a little bit of shame, because a little bit of shame can motivate us to better things. On your quizzes, there are no rewrites on quizzes, but you can do corrections on quizzes, and you can do corrections on quizzes for credit. Here's how you get credit for quizzes. And I'm going to leave this up, because students forget this, or they weren't paying attention, or they were away today, I went over it. Here it is. Corrections on a separate piece of paper. So not on the quiz itself, on a separate piece of paper. If you want credit for whatever mistake you made, you have to write out questions that were missed. Some people I've had students who are like, oh, do I have to correct it? I just didn't do it. Like, well, if you want to show me that you know how to do it, you need to do it at some point. So if you missed the question, you want credit for it on the corrections, you have to write out the question. Anything that was incomplete or incorrect also needs to be written out if you want credit for it. There's a difference between incorrect and incomplete. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. I don't know why I erased that, because that's the question I want to do. After this. So 18 out of 72. If you're doing this question, and you tell me that 18 out of 72 is 9 out of 36, are you wrong? Dave, shake your head. Did you shake your head? No, now you're shaking your head. Okay. One of you, you're trying to shake your head. What do you mean? Why is it not wrong? It's correct. So what's my issue? Oh, yeah, you didn't show the word. Okay, so I divided by 2, I hear something over here, though. It's not done. Because this thing can be factored further. Divide by 9, what should it be? It should be a quarter. So this isn't wrong, and I want you to recognize that. There's a difference between telling me that 1870 over 72 is 9 over 36, as opposed to telling me it's 1 over 2. Telling me that 18 over 72 is a half, obviously wrong. Aiden, don't touch them. If you're telling me that it's 9 over 36, it's not wrong, you're just not done yet. You've started to show me that you know how to simplify things. You just didn't take it all away. There is a fundamental difference between these two kinds of mistakes. I am totally cool with these kinds of mistakes. That's easy to fix. We need to work on something if this is the kind of mistake that's showing. So, anything missed, incomplete, or incorrect goes on you write out the whole thing on the second sheet of paper. You do those questions showing all your work on that second sheet of paper. You make no changes to your quiz. You staple this page of corrections to the back of the quiz and hand it in. I will go through, I will mark your corrections. I will give you credit for your corrections. It'll go into my ed as a second column right next to it. It'll be quiz 1 corrections. If you don't have corrections, or you choose not to do the corrections, I'll just write omit in that column and it won't count against you. But if you do your corrections, I will give you credit for it and it will bump you up a little bit. You spent the time, fix your mistakes, you will be rewarded for that. I'm going to here we go. I'm going to teach you how to staple things. Because I have to do this every semester. You say that, Jackson. Yeah, Liam, if you go to the bathroom, go for the bathroom. Okay, let me show you how to staple things. See, and you say that, Liam, Jackson, when he gets back. you why in a second I want you to staple things. Well, to learn how to staple things. I deal with this every semester. So the reason that I'm having this conversation with you is because students in the past have made this necessary. So here we go. No, it is actually that hard. Okay, so here's the quiz. You have done the quiz. Now you've got your corrections. Actually, I'll start with this one. This is what I sometimes see. People are like, oh yeah, they're talking to their buddy, oh hey Marcus, how's it going? Oh, I got my corrections figured out, here we go. Bam, 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 here's my corrections, I'm going to have everything in. Boom, there it is. I have seen this as a way students have handed in corrections. Often it's not quite this ridiculous. Often it's just a little sloppier. But still, at the end of the day, act like you care. Because the reason you're doing this isn't just for the credit, but it's so it's a tool for you that you can use to study. When you've got corrections, it doesn't take much to go like, loosen your hands, put the thing around it, make sure the holes are lined up so you can actually shove this thing into a binder. Let's say this was the quiz. Here's some of the craziness that I've seen over the years. Okay? Sometimes people just know this will be the corrections. They go all to all the effort to line up all the holes, and then they're like, okay, here we go. Corrections. Yeah, this is incredibly painful. What am I supposed to do with this? Now it goes backwards? Like, what? Why are you doing this? It's really easy. Maybe you've done this in the past. I don't need you to identify yourself. I'm not going to call any of you out by name. It's really easy just the staple just goes right on top of the other one. It'll slide over. This is how you do it. If you hate your teacher, I've seen this too. I've seen this. Right in the middle. And I've done the other, okay, well, I'll just split pages. Oh no, your quiz is ripped. Not my problem. If you don't care, why should I? Like, if that's what we're going to do, don't. Am I worried? I'm not worried. I expect now at least one of you is going to be like, don't do that. If you make it harder, so the whole point of corrections is that I'm giving you a second chance to use your book, to use your notes. Heck, if you want to sit with me for lunchtime, stop me. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Give me that can. I am giving you my time. I'm giving you my time to help you with these things. If you're going to screw around and make it harder for me to mark, I'm not going to do it. I think I told you on day one, I'm willing to work as hard with you as you are willing to work on this course. But if you're not willing to work, if you just want to screw around, why should I put more effort into your education than you are willing to put into your own education? I got 160 students. Move back one desk right now. I got 160 students, and if you're actively going to be not caring about your own education, I will move on to one of the 159. It's not middle school anymore. I don't have time. Because I have, but again, if you want to work, I will make time for every student who wants to work and wants to put in the effort. I will work with you hard. But if you don't, that's entirely your call. Welcome to high school. So that's how corrections go, and then you hand them in, I mark them, I hand them back to you, and they don't go in the garbage. You have two options. Either you put them in your binder, use them as a tool to study. If you're like, I don't want to hang on to this, Mr. Davidoff, really my backpack's just where I store everything, and I will lose this. This week, when I get those quizzes, when I get the corrections all done from people who actually decided to do, I am going to hand out folders to each and every one of you. I'm going to put your name on the folder. I'm going to put the folder in my filing cabinet behind those televisions, and any test you write for me and any quiz that you don't want to hang on to goes in that folder. And you can, at any point throughout the semester, you come in at lunch, you come in after school, during class on some days, you pull that folder out, and you pull your desk back to where it is. And you can use these as tools to study. At the end of the semester, when you're coming to your final exam, you've got a folder. Every quiz you wrote, every test you wrote is in there. You can use it as a tool to study on top of the stuff that you do. If at the end of this all you're just like, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, then I can't force you. I'm not going to force you, but I would encourage you strongly not to do that way. questions about corrections and how to do them, or stapling. And it's never, my 9s are not the issue with stapling usually. Usually it's my 10s. My grade 10s just forget how to staple, or they just like hate the world. I'm not sure. So, I'm going to hand these quizzes back, but before I do that, the following people need to leave, because you haven't written the quiz yet, and I don't want to go over the quiz if you're sitting here and haven't done it yet. So, Angel, who's not here, Colt, you did not write. I would like you to write tomorrow or Friday at lunch, if that works for you. Or Monday, you started the semester late, because you were added late. Sometime next week. But either way, I don't want you sitting here while I'm going over it, so if you could go out into that little cozy area and have a seat on a couch, get comfortable, I'll come get you when we're done. Rain is also away, Prabjot's also away, that's it. Colt, you're going out by yourself. All the rest of you wrote. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Some of you guys weren't the issue. It was my block A class that was the issue. You guys are block C. Thank you for putting C. Almost all of you wrote, I think maybe even all of you wrote that you were in block C. Thank you so much for that. Some of my A block students were like, I'm in block C. No, you're in block A. So thank you for doing that. The only thing I will ask is if you know that you're not the only person in this class that shares your first name, could you tack on a last initial to make my life a little bit easier? You did, so the other Gershon got a pass. So thank you for that. So where is other Gershon B? Gershon B. Last initials helpful, so if you both put Gershon, then I don't know. Oliver is not here. Gershon B. Okay, Gilfran. There you go.
Yeah, I got 12 points.
Gabe. Might be scared. Don't be scared. Marcus.
All right, you know what? I'll take it.
Andrew. Boom. Emma. Jason. Where art thou, Jason? It's been. Oh, yeah, all right. Back on the way. Ruben. Here you go. Boom. Leon. Boom. Tanya. Hey, go pick that up. Leave it on the ground. Leave it on the ground. Hey, pick it up. Put it in the garbage. I don't care if you threw it first. You threw it back, and that's what I saw. You guys do stop throwing. Boom. Right? I know you do. But don't worry, next time I'll get him card. There you go. That was very generous. Raven. Me, both of you.
Yo, let's go.
Yes. Okay, Sahib, where art thou, Sahib? Away. No. Yes, Sahib's away.
Yeah, you raced it.
Jackson. Charlie's away. Okay, here we go.
I lost. I just put my 11.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of time now, and I'm not necessarily giving you time to do corrections right now. Corrections you can do on your own time. I do two things. First of all, I take up any questions you may have. If you're looking at something you did wrong, you're like, I actually don't know why I screwed that up, and you haven't figured it out yet by sitting with the person next to you and when you do it. Oh shoot, I added 54, 5, and 11 and got 16 instead of multiplying 5 and 11 getting 55. If you haven't figured that part out yet, I will take up any questions now. I will go in order. I will ask you if there's questions on a particular range. Wait till you're arranged for your question and I'll address. Afterwards, I will give you guys a couple seconds. You'll be like, I deserve better marks here for X, Y, and Z reasons. You want to fight me for grades? Let's do it. I love it when students want to fight for grades. as long as it's like legit. I don't, so, with our words, fist fight with our words. Sometimes my words hit pretty hard, so you know. Yes, so, take a look. Does anyone have a question about any question on page the front? No. Get your quiz. You have questions about your quiz. I don't. Actually, yeah, you can get some water if you want. Unless you want to stick around for questions. Hey. Believe it or not, that's hard.
I got wrong. 0.25, wrong.
Okay, so the question is, he asked the question, why do there's half marks everywhere? That's an example of a question that you may have, but not as useful a question as perhaps it could be. So, I take off different degrees of marks for different kinds of mistakes. If you made a mistake halfway through that derailed everything that you're doing, you're going to get 0.5. If you dropped a minus sign, you're only going to lose a quarter mark, so you'll only get 0.75 on that. Or if at the very end you made one teeny arithmetic mistake, like there was, I can't remember what question it was. Question 3? Where is it? There was one question where at the end someone added -4 and 5 and got like, -4 plus 5 is -9 or something like that. Like everything else coming before that was correct and you just screwed up the very last piece. I'm only going to take off a quarter mark for that. You made it through a lot of other crap to get to that point and made one silly arithmetic mistake at the end. You're going to get like 0.75 for that. So Hayden, I would need to look at your individual questions to tell you why you got 0.5 off each one. That's good. That's progress. You can build on that. If you got more 0.5s than you got wrong, that means you're well on your way to fixing some of those mistakes and doing quite well. So what I want you to ask me Hayden, look at those questions and I want you to see if you can figure out where you went wrong. Anywhere you can't figure out, chunk of 6. Are there any specific questions about any specific questions about where you might not be sure where you made the mistake you made? Lots of you missed minus signs, maybe that's the mistake you're looking at. So maybe I should look at your plan. Okay, so again, Hayden, I need you to engage with your quiz. I don't know what you wrote on your quiz because I do 60 of these quizzes written. So, a question like number 6. You're just going in order from left to right. 11 minus 14 is -3. Minus 5 is -8. Minus 4 is -12. Plus 14 is +2. Like you're just going left to right. So I don't know where you made your mistake. You need to look at if I circle the 2, maybe the 2 is what should have been correct. You gave me something else. Everything else you got is correct. So I circled the 2 because that's what's wrong. So you guys, you need to engage a little bit with your quiz. You need to actively look at the thing and say, okay, well, where could I go? If I circled something, that's probably related to your mistake. Anyone have specific questions about numbers 1 through 10? Yes. Can I go over number 1? Okay, so again, it's just addition, subtraction. So you're working left to right. -11 plus 10 is -1. Is that the mistake, or did you have that? Okay, so you have -1 minus -4. Well, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. So -1 minus -4, which is the same thing as -1 plus 4, should be 3. Did you say it was -5?
No, I got 1. But then when I was correcting, I got 3.
It should be 3.
Yeah.
That's good. When you're correcting it, it's 3. Remember, don't do any corrections on the quiz itself. Except if you have perfect, yes. The correct answer is 3. So some of you guys, some of the most common mistakes that I saw were things like -5 times -11 is -55 on question number 8. not. It would be positive, because negative times a negative is a positive. Some of you said that negative 6 times 11, let's look at number 8, is negative 66, which is true, and then you forgot to subtract it. So you're going to have that double negative on number 8 there, where you're going to have minus negative 66. I would like you to try and think about minus signs that are attached to a number like they are your cell phone. If you left your cell phone somewhere, and you did not remember where it was, and you felt like you lost it, I imagine that a whole bunch of you guys would probably have just short of a heart attack. Right? So, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look at those minus signs and be like, that's that number somehow. It can't be left behind. That's got to come along for the ride. That number's going to lose its ever-loving mind if I lose that minus sign. I know whatever you have to do to remind yourself to stop dropping minus signs. Because a whole bunch of you did. You just didn't copy it down. Some of you, from one line to the next, on number 8, you went, the first line is negative 13 plus bracket negative 5 bracket bracket negative 11 bracket minus bracket negative 6 bracket bracket 11 bracket minus minus 13. Some of you on the next line down wrote that first number was 13. You just didn't write the minus sign. And that's going to kill you every time. Okay, yes, still Kron. Specific question you want me to talk about? Probably the one above it. Let me see. If it's a check mark, it means it's right. Okay, where is it? We don't know. Look, this one is this one. That one's right. This one's right. This one's right. This one's right. The check mark would go with the line above it. So this is actually a good example. If you guys, down in the front. If you told me, so number 5. Let's talk about number 5 for a sec. If you told me that number 5, the answer was 5, and you showed me a bunch of work, and all you did was drop a minus sign at the end, I'd give you 0.75. But if you did number 5 and you did no work, you didn't write a single piece of work down, you just tacked down that the answer was 5, you're getting it wrong. 0. Unless you show me your work, unless I can see the mistake, if you just write down an incorrect answer, there is no part marks available for that. You dropped a minus sign somewhere, probably. You probably said you got 5. You probably told me that negative 12 plus 5 was 7, which isn't true. It's negative 7. So you did do that. You said negative 12 plus 5. Okay, keep going. There it is. Negative 7 divided by 7 is not 1. It's negative 1. You dropped the minus sign. So you drop that 1. You drop the minus sign on the 1. Negative 7 divided by 7 is not 1. It's negative 1. Negative 5. Because 1 times 5 is 5, so negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Yeah. Okay? Did I use 0.5? Okay, I want you to bring it to me when I'm done here. If that's the only mistake you made on that one, I'll leave you 0.75. Okay, yes, the front. I know, but were you listening to what I just said? If you show me no work, and the answer is incorrect, even if it's only missing a minus sign, if there's no work shown, no credit. You didn't write down a stitch of work. You just said the answer was 5. That's not right, and I don't know where you went wrong. I don't know if you just dreamt it from the sky, 5, I don't know. No work, no credit. In a second. So there's no other questions about 1 through 10? Nobody wants to talk about any of those specifically? Every one of you looks at your thing, you're like, yeah, I know exactly where my mistakes are. Hayden wants number 8. Okay? Hayden wants about number 8. Okay, Hayden, I'm gonna let you start working at corrections, unless you can be like, because I did talk about number 8. Negative 13, so like you're gonna get negative 5 times negative 11 is 55. And then the negative 6 times 11 is negative 66. Put that double negative in there is going to turn that 66 positive. The double negative right at the end is going to make the 13 positive. No, you're going to get a separate piece of paper. You want that piece of I can get you some blank paper in a sec. If you don't have your own paper, I can get you some paper. But I'm also not giving you time to work on your corrections now, so there's that.
Hey,
Okay, Joker on.
On number, on question number 10, on the after division sign is like 2 brackets.
Yes, there was 2 sets of brackets. So a question like number 10. With a question like 10, because you've got 2 sets of brackets, they're bed mass, the B part of bed mass, you attack it twice. So the first set is, okay, well, I'm looking at B, brackets, well that 19 minus 3 is going to be 16. Divide by, and then you've got brackets inside brackets. So you go inside the big brackets, and then you go inside each of those big brackets, each of the smaller brackets. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 7 is negative 8. But then because there's a set of brackets around that, you have to multiply negative 1 and the negative 8 together. Get positive 8. So your final question, the final step of your question is going to be 16 divided by 8, which is 2. If that second set of brackets isn't there, the question becomes 16 divided by negative 1, and then you're going to divide the negative 1 by negative 8. Sorry, 16 divided by negative 1, and then you're going to divide that answer by negative 8. Which actually gets you the same answer. Sorry?
well, you wouldn't divide it though, you'd multiply it.
Sorry, you're right. It would be 6, you're right. It would be 16 times 8, which would not be the same as 16 divided by 8. Thank you, Marcus, I said it wrong. Yeah, you get 64 times 2 is 128. Sorry? I'm doing math longer than you've been alive. I have all sorts of tricks. Well, when you've been doing math for longer than you've been alive, I can appear that way. I assure you I'm not a human calculator. Okay, so. There are no voices behind you. Okay, questions from 11 till 19. Gershon, you've been waiting for this.
Number 13.
Yes. What's your question?
I got 0.5 on it and you didn't like circle anything.
Okay, so what's your answer?
My answer was 1 and 16 over 15, or 1 and 2/3.
For question 13?
Yeah.
There's a whole number 6 up front, so how'd you get a 1?
Simplify.
But you can't, like that whole number 6 doesn't simplify away. No, the whole number 6 has to stay up front. 36 over 90 becomes 2/5.
Yeah, that's what I got.
So, but yeah, so that's why you got a half mark. Because that 6 needs to stay there. That becomes 6 and 2/5.
You don't divide the 6.
The 6 isn't being divided by anything. No, you divide the top and bottom by 18. So 36 divided by 18 is 2, 90 divided by 18 is 5. So by dividing the top and bottom by the same thing, you haven't actually touched the 6. The 6 has to stay. That's what you got to have.
I feel like I should get 0.75.
No, that's a bigger mistake. That's more than a quarter mark mistake. That's a fundamental mistake. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of how you simplify a mixed number. I'm not giving you a quarter mark for that. That's a bigger deal than that. Yeah? I would love nothing more. So, 36 and over 16. What did you have as an answer? 9 over 4. Okay, 9 over 4 is technically correct. But if you look at the answer, it's not complete. Because it says to write your answer as a mixed number when necessary. Okay, so that's why you lost a half mark. If you don't know what a mixed number is a whole number and a fraction. So how many times does 4 go 9? So you put the 2 a whole out front, and then there's going to be 1 left over in the numerator with the denominator of 4. Okay, any other questions on the back page? Krishan?
Number line.
The number line. Love the number
I
line.
got 3.75. I did everything correctly.
Clearly you didn't.
Okay.
So,
I think I know why, but I feel like it shouldn't count.
okay, what do you think your mistake was?
I didn't simplify negative 3 to over 7 because
Where did you put negative 3 into over 7?
right between like roughly actually
Yeah, let me see.
right right there.
No, that's not my issue.
Oh, I did the space either way off.
two over three. So 4. That's not much. Good job.
Whatever. At least I did the back page. Yeah, at least I did it. Drop shipping. No one says gun toy. What's a gun toy? The toy gun.
Not only did I not like the scale, it won't grip. That's why.
Stop it.
So I put an X over top of it, and then I realized that was actually incorrect. So.
Oh.
On your own side. But, okay, what about number 8? Okay, so I'm gonna I'll spend 3 minutes. I'm gonna come around. I'll answer any specific questions. No, you're staying there today. You guys know you're not going anywhere. Unless you have specific questions for me to address real quick in the next 3 minutes, put your quiz in your binder. Grab your notes out. We are doing the lesson today on multiplication, division, and fractions. You don't have to show it to your parents because the grades are in my head. But do not, Liam, do not throw that quiz away. You need some corrections on it. On your own time or on a tutorial Friday, for example, do your corrections on this thing, hand it in. I wouldn't want you to wait too long because the chapter is almost done. You guys are going to be doing a test for me next week, probably Thursday on this stuff. So your corrections should be done before then so that I can go over them so you can use this as a tool to study. Corrections are never mandatory. But if you want to improve your grade, a real easy way,
Would you like to buy a football card, $30?
I do not want to buy a football card. I want you to do better at math.
But he's buying a football card.
No.
Wait.
Put your headphone away. Headphones away, guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can take it out of your ear. So, I will answer Ruben's question, and then y'all need to get your stuff out. We're going to go over the lesson today on multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, here we go. Block C. I think I already went over the answers for adding and subtracting fractions, so we're going to get into it. Hayden, get your stuff up. Right, Ruben had a question. What am I doing?
This is not really, but
What do you need to get to? You know what?
Stop kicking my back. No.
Okay, anyone who wants paper, who doesn't have their own, first of all, you guys should be bringing paper to class.
I don't have paper.
Guys, there will, okay. At some point you gotta stop. At some point I'm not gonna be providing anymore. Because you guys are already torn through one stack of both at once. If you need scrap paper, there will always be a small stack right here. You guys annihilated my pencils too. You guys need to start bringing your own stuff and stop forgetting your booklets. At some point, guys. Here you go. Again? Why? Okay, here we go. Open it up. Where's yours?
It was on my desk yesterday, and I came back and it was not there.
Yeah.
Like during class?
On Monday, when the sub was here, he left it in his phone. I was taking in Brooklyn with mom and came back. But she's actually not taking it.
Okay. Guys, if it's not yours, don't touch it. Yes, it's not difficult. A student shouldn't go get their photos taken and come back to have their work all gone. Now Hayden's got a totally empty book from all the notes that he may or may not have taken over the course of the semester. Now he's got to go back and watch my videos and take whatever notes he may or may not have taken the second time. If you took his stuff, I don't care if it happened, let it magically reappear somewhere. I won't call you out. Nothing is going to happen to you as a result. If you know it where it's hidden, if you hid it amongst my stuff, tell me. Anyway. Okay, find the lesson on multiplying and dividing fractions. Here we go. We're going to get it done. Here we go. We're going to get this done. We're going to get rid of you. Boom. So Colt, at some point in the next week, I would like you to try that quiz. Okay. Guys. Here we go. Multiplying and dividing fractions. Boom. So, multiplying and dividing fractions is way easier than adding and subtracting fractions. The lesson today is a quick one because it's really not hard. There's a few things to remember, but yeah, again, it's pretty easy. So, here are your steps to multiplying fractions. This, again, is something you were taught in middle school, but we're going to review it here. So, if you have a mixed fraction, the first step is always, always, always to take that mixed fraction and convert it to an improper fraction. You can't do anything with a mixed number as far as multiplying goes or dividing goes until you've got it all as one kind of number. Jackson, turn around. The second two steps, if you choose to do steps 2 and 3 as I've outlined them here, it can make your life easier along the way. But you can choose not to do this. Can choose to delay this step. If you choose not to do steps 2 and 3 at this stage, then you need to add a step 5. Your step 5 at the end when you're dealing with fractions is always, always, always to simplify or reduce your final answer. If you skip, I'll show you how to simplify. If you choose to skip steps 2 and 3, step 5 can be a little bit more work. But even if you do a little bit of this, and I'll show you what I mean by that, it'll make your final answer, your final steps to your final result a lot cleaner. So if it's a mixed fraction, convert it to improper. We're going to look at what these two steps are. Check if you can simplify, check if you can cross simplify, and then multiply the top with top and bottom with bottom, and you're done. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to zoom in on the question. You can see the steps on your page, but let's talk about this. I'm going to do this 2 different ways. I'm going to go one to the right, over here in green, and I'm going to go one down here in some blue. I had more colors out. Where did my colors go? I'm going to go this way. Okay, so first I'm going to show you what this looks like if I include steps 2 and 3. When you're multiplying fractions, what you can do is, if the opportunity presents itself, always check if you can simplify your fractions. Are there any fractions here that are simplifiable? Yes, Brielle. I thought that was a hand. Was that not a hand? Okay, never mind. Sorry? Yes, definitely 3 and 12. If you choose to simplify the a fraction, 3 and 12 will work, because 3 and 12 are both divisible by what, Hayden? You betcha. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And now, how I'm showing my work is I'm just going to leave my fraction the way it is. It's still multiplication, and I'm just going to deal with each section. 3 divided by 3 is 1 in the numerator. 12 divided by 3 is 4 in the denominator. And 2 and 5 can't be simplified, because 5's prime. So, well, you can't divide it by 5, and 2 can't be divided by 5. So I'm going to leave this as 2/5. So that's step 2. Check. Step 3. Let's see if we can cross simplify. So because we've only got multiplication and division here, fractions are just division, you can multiply and divide in any order you want. The way this is written is we have 2 divided by 5 times 1 over 4. But with multiplication and division it works. You can actually go in whatever order you want. You could do 2 divided by 4 and 1 divided by 5, and then multiply those together if you wanted to. So there's a technique called cross simplification where we look at these crosses. Can I divide 2 and 4 by anything in common? Yes, someone said I can divide them both by 2. So let's divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. The 5 hasn't done anything. The 1 in the numerator over there hasn't done anything. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now, I can't cross simplify the 1 and the 5. So this is as much as I can do. Now my last step is to multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. 1 times 1 is 1. Sometimes students will say it's 2. It's not. It's 1 times 1, not 1 plus 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and 5 times 2 is? And I'm done. Alternatively, let's say you're like, I don't want to simplify anything. I don't want to be elegant. I want to multiply. Then let's multiply. You just go for it. 2 times 3 is? 5 times 12 is? See, the numbers get a little bit bigger when you don't pre-simplify, but not so big that we can't reasonably do this. We can look at 6 and 60. If you didn't do steps 2 and 3, now we're going to add in step 5 where it says to simplify, assuming you wrote it. Can I divide 6 and 60 by anything? Yeah, both are divisible by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 60 divided by 6 is 10, and we're done. It's not overly difficult, but you can make your life easier or simpler. Again, depends on the arithmetic ability you've got going on in your head. Another example. Boom, this guy down here. 1 and 1/6 times 2 over 7. 1 and 1/6 is a smidgen of a problem. We don't have any way of dealing with a mixed number, so let's make it improper, Hayden. G. Not Hayden D, Hayden G. G, Mr. G. This way, over here. So, how do I make this thing mixed? How do I make this thing improper from being mixed? Yeah. I times then I add. So 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So this is going to be 7 over 6 times 2 over 7. Now there is a really slick cross multiplication that you can do here. Neither of these can be simplified vertically within their own fraction. But let's look at this. Can I divide 7 and 7 by anything? Yeah, I can. No. There you go. I divide both by 7, and what that's going to give me is 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, here and here. Can I cross simplify this way? Yeah, I totally can. 2 and 6 are both divisible by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And now this is trivial, because multiplying by 1 just gets you itself. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. And we're done. If we had chosen not to do that, I'm going to go here. I'm going to draw an arrow that way. Let's say that we chose instead 7 over 6 times 2 over 7, and you just want to, you're like, screw it. I'm not going to simplify anything. I don't want to be elegant. I'm just going to blast through the multiplication. and you multiply across the top, and you multiply across the bottom, 42 over 14. Sorry, I lied, 14 over 42. But now you have to look at that and you have to say, okay, to yourself, can I divide those by anything? They're both even. 14 and 42, if you remember your multiplications tables, 14 and 42 are both the multiples of 7. So you can multiply by either one. If you only notice that that's even, let's divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 42 divided by 2 is 21, because 40 divided by 2 is 20, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now I have to look at that. Am I done? No, because 7 and 21 are both divisible by 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 over 7 is 3. Either way, I get the same result, but the steps you choose to take along the way are different. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure book, except at the end of the day, you're all ending up in the same spot. I always died during choose-my-own-adventure books, so I don't know what that was about. I chose the wrong adventure, clearly. Okay, questions about what was there? Let's keep going then. Division. We like division. Division is just one tiny step away from multiplication. Here's what it looks like to divide fractions. Again, first step is the same. If it's mixed, make it improper. Always, always, always the first step. The second step, flip the fraction after the division sign. We have a name for that. Flipping the fraction. What do we call that? It starts with an R. What is the proper mathematical term for that? Yes, who said that? Louder. We are taking the reciprocal. Reciprocal. I'll zoom in so you can see what I've written. We want to take the reciprocal. That means we take the second fraction and we flip it. The numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator after the division sign, so the second one. And what happens to the division sign? Division becomes multiplication. Turns into multiplication. That's a terrible word to spell. Just because it takes a long time. But then the next three steps are the same. Check if you can simplify, check if you can cross simplify, multiply the top and the bottom, and step 6, if it's necessary, if you didn't catch a simplification along the way, always, always, always check if you can simplify at the end. So let's do 2 examples. 6 over 2 divided by 3 over 4. Simplify. It is a recipe. So much of math is just recipes. And so much of math class is just, practicing those recipes until they're second nature. It's like my sister who doesn't need the recipe anymore for baking chocolate chip cookies. She spends so much time doing it. I need the recipe because I make them once a year. They did. Oatmeal chocolate chip. Mr. Sanford told me they were. Here we go. 6 over 2 divided by 3 over 4. The first step is to change anything mixed into improper. There's nothing mixed. They're both improper already. We're good to go. Second step, we're going to take the second fraction and we're going to take the reciprocal of that fraction. And then division becomes multiplication. So 6 over 2 stays the way it is. 3/4 becomes 4/3. And division becomes multiplication. Whistling is unnecessary. Let's not do it again. Nobody asked you, Liam. Let me be the policeman. Okay, now let's check if we can simplify. Does anyone see any simplifications we can make? Yes, Colt. We can cross simplify 2 and 4, you bet, because 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2. Okay, divide by 2, divide by 2. I'm going to write it beneath here, and we're going to get another set of fractions. There's going to be a 1 in the denominator there, and 2 in the numerator there. Is there any other? Yes, Gershon. We can cross the 6 and the 3. So 6 over 3, I can divide both of those by 3, leaving me 6 over 3 is 2, 3 over 3, or 3 divided by 3 is 1, and now I'm multiplying there. Oh look, this gets really easy when you make the simplifications, because 2 times 2 is 4, and we're done. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So much of this first chapter is all review. Everything we've done up to this point has been review. Well, that's not... You were definitely supposed to. Shots fired. So many. We were in the same class and I did it. Yay. Awkward. Okay, so you may. Let's take a look at another example. The only difference between this example and the previous one, guys, is rather that these are mixed and they need to be improper. That's okay. We can argue about it later. So, the first step to making these improper is to take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number, add to the numerator. I guess that's all the steps. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Sorry, I'm talking quickly because we're running out of time. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 2 is 14. And in both cases, the denominator stays the same. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip the second fraction. We're going to take the reciprocal of the second fraction, and we're going to turn it into multiplication. So, 7 over 3 stays the same. Division becomes multiplication, and I take the second fraction, I take the reciprocal, becomes 6 over 14. And now, let's cross-simplify or simplify within the fraction if we can. Doesn't matter what order we do that in. Gershon? You can cross 7 and 14. Both are divisible by 7. So what that's going to do, 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Can I do anything else while I'm at it? Yes, Dilkaran? No, the first fraction stays the same. You only flip the second fraction. You only flip the fraction you're dividing by. Okay, does anyone else see anything else we can do? Someone said 6 and 3. Who said 6 and 3? Okay, well, the 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. 3 over 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Oh, look. 2 over 2 reduces to 1. Both of these are divisible by 2. So our final answer is going to be 1 times 1, which is 1. Okay, flip the page. You have so much time left. You have 10 minutes left. The only we're going to do 2 more little things, but these are quick. These are very quick. Yes, you have homework. Here's what you're going to do. What happens when we multiply by whole numbers? If I have a fraction and a whole number, and I want to multiply or divide those, Marcus? Yes, you turn the whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1. It doesn't matter if you're multiplying or dividing, that step is the same. And then everything else happens exactly the way it did on the previous page. You're going to take anything mixed and you're going to make it improper. So this thing is going to become, instead of 1 and 1/6, it's, going to become 7 over 6 times 2 over 1. We simplify where we can, or we just go for it. Full send, let's multiply. 7 times 2 is 14. 6 times 1 is 6. And now I can simplify here at the end. Both of those are divisible by 2. And I'm going to get 7/3 and we're done. Yep. Let's do the next one. The only difference is this last one's division, but it's the same steps. I'm going to take my improper and my mix, I'm going to make it improper right away. So 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So we're going to get 14/6. Instead of dividing, I'm going to turn this thing into multiplication, and I turn it into multiplication by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. Instead of going to be 7 over 1, it's going to be, thank you. I can reduce where I can. I'm going to divide both of these by 7. And I'm going to get, guys, hang on here. We're not done. 2 over 6 times 1 over 1, which I can then reduce. The 2 and the 6 are both divisible by 2. And I'm going to get 1 over 3 times 1 over 1, which is just going to be 1 over 3, and we're done. It better not be, because there's more coming on the bottom page. Hayden, you got these notes, yeah? Why are you closing up your book? We're not done yet. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Well, find me your notes so you can actually take these notes down. Okay. The only other step is If you've got more than one operation, you just work one at a time left to right using the same rules we've already done. So, the first step, make anything mixed improper. I've got something mixed, let's make it improper. The 2 is going to become 2 over 1. Times a half, that's going to stay the same. And my mixed number is going to become 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And the denominator stays the same. I can cross simplify. There's a very easy cross simplification. What is it? Yeah, the 2 and 2. Both of those are divisible by 2. So they're both going to become 1. Oh, look. 1 times 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 times 6 is 6, and we're done. We can start shortcutting our work here a little bit, but I did still show the work. This one, same deal. I take my whole number, I make it a fraction by putting it over 1, and now I'm going to take this division, I'm going to turn it into multiplication by taking the reciprocal of the fraction that comes immediately after. So it's going to become 4, a little switcheroo. 4 over 1 times 1 over 2 times 6 over 5. I am going to let you finish this for homework, and I want you to try this question for homework. No, it's the next 2 pages. I want you to flip the page, and I want you to write the word evens up at the top. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. There, honestly, guys, yes, you've got 4 minutes, but again, as Dilkaran pointed out earlier, Yale did this in grade 8. So there is no reason why you couldn't crank out most of these. If you use the next 4 minutes, give it a shot. Okay, I'll take them up tomorrow. You've got your, try it. If you're not going to be here tomorrow, well, then you'll have to watch the video. We'll catch up. Watch videos. Okay. If you need to watch the videos, it's going to be live after school. Do not pack up. Liam, I want you to do these questions to the bell because it's the last block. There's no reason why you can't work to the bell. Get it out, Liam. Work to the bell. You can, as long as you're working to the bell. Corrections, you're not going to get class time for those. Do them on your own and hand them in when you're ready. So this isn't 3.3 repeating. You need, if you're going to simplify this, it's also negative. You didn't include the negative down there. So the only thing you got to do here is actually label. I mean, if you label this as -3 and 2 over 7, I would have accepted that. But you reduced it improperly. If you want to reduce it, you have to do long division with the sevenths. Shobit, have a great day. I'll show you what I mean by